Welcome to the next Let's Build with JavaScript. This one is going to focus on creating an off-canvas type of menu that actually uses minimal JavaScript, but combined with HTML and CSS can create a really cool effect that you might have seen in the wild. So the concept here is to have obviously just placeholder content for now, but you could extend this on your own. We have a big dramatic background image, some hello world kind of content, a little blurb about my blog just for some placeholder. And then the main menu on the left is where we're going to do all the magic. So if you click the menu icon, our actual menu appears and we can see more under the hood. So this pattern personally is a little less intuitive because you're assuming that the user is going to automatically know what this icon means. This day and age, it's kind of a given trend that people know what that is now. It is used almost everywhere. You see it even in my browser right here. So stuff like that is just becoming a trend, much like certain icons we're used to, like the save icon has been used for years. But anyway, the pattern of that is to open this menu to save some space, but ultimately keep it kind of app-like in the left. So this tutorial is more or less just to show you how I created this from scratch and what we'll do to get it to where it's at in its current state. So this is the final product you're seeing right now. So I'll refer to my current project as well as share it with you on the show notes as well as the blog if you are there watching this. But this is going to be the code we'll end up using. I'm going to go ahead and just create it from scratch in a new pen, and I'll share this one with you in the very end. So let's kick things off without further ado. So the top banner, we're going to have a section. Top banner is our main area. This is going to have the banner overlay. So the top banner overlay. And that will have our main hello world component. So this will just be a p tag, and I'm going to steal the content right here. Cool. So that gives us the basis there. That's the main first section. Below that, we're going to have a navigation. So an actual nav element with the class of top nav. And that will have a menu wrapper. And most of this stuff is for the sake of CSS, so it's just a matter of getting these classes and elements in order, and then from there we can extend it. So we're going to have a main home. These links won't really go anywhere yet. You can extend that to do so if you want on your own. Okay, so within this list item, we're going to have an actual submenu, so that'll be a list within a list. So this will make it indented in the end, which gives it that child-parent effect we're after. So this is just literally for placeholder, so it's not like super important that you add these as I am, but I'm just trying to recreate what I had. And then we'll get to the JavaScript side of it, which is really honestly toggling some classes. And okay, so that's the other list. We'll close that one, and I need to actually give it a class of submenu. Oops, menu. And we'll go all the way down to this list item, and we'll close it. Make sure I'm in the right place. Yeah, so after about, we'll have another one called projects. Another one called clients. So say this is your portfolio site, something like that. This might be what you could do with it. And this will be contact. All right, so there's the main menu. Below that, we're going to have a button that's going to be responsible for closing this. All right, so we'll give it a class of menu close. And It's good to have some ARIA labels for these, just so people with accessibility concerns can use it and know what it actually means. And here I'll just put an X for now. We could use an icon there, but it's not a huge deal. All right, so there's the closing div. Below that, we're going to have the fixed menu portion. So this will be basically what's going to be already in sight. And we'll have another button. And I'm going to refer to some icons I used in the other pin. So feel free to steal those on your own. But I'm going to give this one a class first, and then another area attribute, which is a label. And it's going to be open menu. So within that button, I'm going to steal this SVG right here, and it's going to be wrapped in a div because I'm going to be flexing with CSS. So that's why that div exists. So right now, don't worry about it, but definitely have it there. And below that, we'll have, let's see, I want to add another div that is menu text. This is for screen readers. Class menu text, screen reader text. I like to add these. It's not 100% necessary, but again, for accessibility, you can have classes that are screen reader only. And with that, they can be scanned and the user knows what that is. Instead of just a blank element on the page, they're not confused where to go next. All right, so then below that, we're going to have some social links. And in fact, these are so redundant. I think I'll just copy this, save you guys some time. I just have links to my YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter here. And it's just an unordered list with some classes. I've got these icons from, what is the icon family? I think Noncon. It's by Steve Schroger. Zondicons, if you want to check those out. Maybe I'll link to those. And actually, the social ones are from another library. So Steve's library doesn't have those. I think that's it. So that's it for our HTML. As you can see, it looks pretty terrible. We'll go ahead and add some CSS next to make it look presentable. Prepare for the JavaScript ahead. So we'll add some classes and states so we can manipulate things when they're changed. So padding 0, margin 0. We're going to do a basic reset here. Nothing fancy. So that puts everything against the edge, basically gets rid of any browser defaults. So unordered lists, we're going to have list style none, just to kind of take that global. A button will basically clear its appearance. Outline, this I wouldn't recommend, but I'm going to add it because I have it. Outlines are there for a reason, and a lot of people remove them by default, not knowing what they actually are for, and it's a big accessibility concern. So sometimes when you don't have it, say a blind user or something of that state isn't aware of the button state at any given moment without that outline sometimes, or at least focusing in on it. Say you're tabbing through. That's kind of one of those things that needs to be there so a user knows where they're at, or at least provide them a fallback. So this is the stuff I deal with day to day. It gets deeper than just styling the look of things, you know. All right, so our links are just going to be basic black links, nothing crazy there. Body we'll do kind of a reset here as well. So font's going to be normal. We'll do it all in line. The 16 pixels, 1.5 line height. We'll use Helvetica as our default, and just the basic sans serif fallback. I added that screen reader class before. I'm going to go ahead and tackle that now. So it looks like this, and this is actually from Bootstrap. I like how they approach this, so I use this class particularly. So screen reader text. So it's position absolute. The idea behind this CSS is that it will still display still be readable by screen reader, but won't be shown visually. You can't just display none on stuff you don't want the screen reader to read, so you need to set it with something like this to kind of give it at least some bit of inclination that there's something on the page that the screen reader can pick up. So overflow hidden. Then we're going to clip it with the rect. See all this stuff you have to do. It's like, holy crap. But it does work, so I like it. So white space, no wrap. And no dash there. And I'm going to add this. I don't know that I need it particularly, but I will just in case. So inset, clip path, 50%, and border of 0. All right, so all that just to make sure our screen reader text is hidden. This used to have a menu text there, but it's gone now. And basically we can't see it, but a screen reader can. That's the benefit there. All right, so our top banner, let's start tackling actual UI design, is going to display flex. We'll have a width that's going to calculate the full width of the viewport minus the menu, the shown menus. So this bit right here, this turquoise bit. So what we'll do is an actual calculation, and we'll take 100% minus 60 pixels. Cool. And then a height will be, we'll just do 100 VH, which is the 100% of the vertical height of the viewport. So then we'll translate X 60 pixels, since we subtracted that. There you see it jumped over. So there's the width of what will be our menu in the end. And then this is the content that we're targeting, this whole big block that isn't that menu. So the background image we can set as an image, but I'm going to pull from this one just so it lines up. Let me grab the CSS here. We have the same image. You can grab assets from CodePen. If you want to click this tab, go to photos, it'll give you basic images to start with. If you're a pro, you can get a lot more, which is nice. I have Pro on a different account. I just don't use it for these screencasts because I want you guys to be able to do it on your own without being a pro as well. So continuing on. This, again, we have the image. It's a background image. It doesn't repeat, and it's centered and positioned cover. So it's basically, it will scale when your browser scales, to give you some idea there. So top banner overlay. So this is going to be the black and white portion that has the content in it. So we'll do something like so. Display flex direction, column, and justify content center. This is all Flexbox stuff. So we can set a defined width on here. So that will shoot that whole block to 350 pixels wide. Padding of 20 just to give it some breathing room. And transition, we're going to transform this when the menu opens. So we're going to set that up now to compensate. So we can just do seconds. We'll actually transform it with a class called isMoved coming up. So color will be white. And then we could see that text, and background will be a faint black with some opacity. So RGBA 000 is black, and then we could just define a 0.7 property to give it a bit of black but some transparency. So there we go. So you can see our menu is not looking so hot. We'll get that working here in a second, but I'm going to just work my way down. So here's that isMoved class. We'll target and add with JavaScript. So once it is moved, we'll transform it and translate it the width of its content. So translate X. I'm going to just do a capital X, 350 pixels. Cool. And then you could do and before, give it just some fancy drop shadow. So I'll do content. It says Pseudoelement if you're not familiar with these. Basically, it allows you to control the display before and after an element, a block level element on a page, assuming it's positioned a certain way, and you give it certain properties that will make it do such a thing. So this is how that works. Right will be 100%. Width is 20 pixels. Box shadow, this is where it will make the difference. 0, 0, 10 pixels. I'm going to do black again, but just like a faint black. Okay, and below that we have a p tag, which is there's a basic content within this tag. So this will be below the is moved block, so right here. So P, we'll just set a font size of 1 rem, which is probably the default. Yeah. And margin top of 10 pixels. Needs a little breathing room. Cool. Okay, so outside of the scope of that, we can start on the nav. And within the nav, we have 2 unordered lists, so we can do something like this to target both LIs and just set that each within the sub list, the margin top would have, just say like 8 pixels. So that gives those each enough pixels to shift down. And then below that, we'll have a menu wrapper class. This will be actually fixed. So this will be on the top left. Bottom will be 0. We'll set this with the defined width of 60 pixels. So pay attention, we set that 60 pixels. Right up here, I subtracted 60 pixels on the main content here. So you see how it jumps to the left now. That's intentional. So there's a bit of math with this stuff. So you have to kind of, when you invent new things like this, it's not traditional. So you have to kind of compensate with a lot more CSS. So this will translate as well. And negative 350 pixels. Transition again will be transform. We're kind of repeating this. I could probably make a variable for it, but that's okay. And we'll set a background of, let's see, A, 0, F, 0, E, D. Okay. And this content's hidden at this point, basically. So, I mean, it's there, but we're going to show it with JavaScript again. So we'll do is opened. And transform, translate X, 60 pixels. Width will be 350. So once it's open, it'll go ahead and translate to the width. And then we could target more inside that. So say menu. We'll have an opacity of 1, so we'll bring it to view and set a slight delay. So it kind of takes its time to open a little bit. Kind of gives it a fade effect. Okay. So then we could target the menu in the top nav. Yeah, so within this, we can target the menu. Opacity will be 1 or 0. Then we'll do transition of opacity 0.3. Okay, then we can target our submenu. So just kind of fix-ups. Padding will have 10 on the top, none on the right, none on the bottom, but 7 on the left. Or actually, I'm going to do 8. Okay, and then menu close will be the button within the close menu once it's opened. So this will be, we're going to position absolutely. Top will be 0, right will be 20 pixels. Font size, we don't really need that, I think, but I'll actually, yeah, we do. Okay, so then within that we have the fixed menu portion. This will actually start to come to life now. So this is going to be, again, fixed. Okay, getting there, getting there. And then within the menu open, there'll be an SVG element. I'm going to target just to fill it with the same color as our text. So it'll look like so. This could be enhanced, but we'll roll with it. And then we could do a hover state. I like to do and hover and focus, just to kind of tackle both. Opacity will be slight black, or slightly less than full. All right, then finally we'll have a menu icon below. Make sure I'm on the right div. Right here, menu icon, margin right, 10 pixels. And I think I have some issues with where my nesting is happening, so I'll backtrack here in a second. I'm gonna I did this just last minute. Social links SVG, I wanted to fill that same color. All right, so something's up with our nesting. Let me double check about that, and I'll be right back. All right, so what I messed up is the class name on the element. So this, for some reason, I wrote just fixed because I'm so used to writing atomic CSS that I don't write this kind of CSS anymore. But it's okay. I forgot to append dash menu, so definitely make sure you do that if you haven't. But that ends up getting us where we're after. There is some list resets I need to do with the social links. In fact, I think I'll undo some CSS I just did to kind of fix that, I think. No, it's still doing it. So let me go back to social links and let me double check. We should have this fixed up here. List style. I can't type, guys. So list style should be none. There we go. All right, so cool. So you see how it kind of does its flexiness when I do this. The menu icon kind of comes down to the social icons. But nothing's happening yet, but we do have our foundation laid. So finally, let's get to the JavaScript side of it. Again, feel free to refer to this pin to double check you're following along correctly. Let's start with a const menu open equals a bunch of diving into the DOM. So we'll go find the top nav and the menu open class. Cool. And then I'm kind of just going to copy this like 4 times, but change up what's going on. So menu close, and this will be menu close, menu wrapper, so you could just query for this class, but this scopes it, so it's only going to dive within the top nav portion. that's kind of a fail-safe in case you have a class that you don't know about elsewhere in your app, say an app that's used by millions of people. It kind of gets, you run into those problems where you're not sure if a class has been used before, and it gets harder and harder to name things. I deal with that daily. So, all right, so let's get the overlay. So this will just be top banner overlay. All right, cool. So this is going to be a simple function where we just toggle it based on the class lists and click events. So it's very simple, but what we can do is author a function called toggle menu. And within that, we'll have our variables available to us. We can just say menu open add event listener, click, and we could do new function, oops, the fat arrow. And within that, we'll have menu wrapper, class list, .add, and that is open class. And then we'll do the same with the top banner. But it's going to be is moved. So we're doing two things at once with this, but we're toggling it. So the same is true for the close menu. We can do just the same. So top menu close, add event listener, click, oh my gosh, click, and we'll do menu wrapper dot class list dot remove is opened, top banner overlay class list dot remove is moved. And that's literally it, guys. So like we can call a function that toggles that stuff and checks all those things in the same function. So it's nice. I don't have to do two functions that do two different click events listening for those things in real time. So essentially we should get this going on. Looks like some issues with my CSS is up, so I'll fix that. Double check my work. Menu close is going to be that button. So let's see if I have it here correctly. Oh, position. I spelled position wrong. All right, I think that'll do it. Double check. There it is. Okay, cool. So you could use a better icon than that, and I recommend it, than just an actual text-based X, but that gets the job done. You see it's doing the isMove class and the isOpen class at the same time. So we're getting those translate properties firing. And a reason you would use translate, which, like we have been doing, more so is performance. I've seen multiple places mentioned there is a downside to using like left and right positioning attributes as opposed to translating the element itself. It's just more perceived performance, as well as rendering and painting the elements on the screen as they're moving. It's just a better experience. So really recommend using those. That's pretty much what I reach for anymore. So with that, we are finished here. You could extend this quite a bit to maybe be more responsive on mobile, but more or less it goes all the way down to mobile state and is already kind of working for us. So we get this experience there too. So that's kind of nice. So again, this is a bit less JavaScript than maybe you were hoping for, but it is a realistic kind of concept that is an off-canvas menu, and it's taking that app-like structure that you get in some of your favorite apps out there, and with just a dash of JavaScript and some nice CSS, you're able to accomplish a lot. So hopefully you enjoy this. If you have ideas for future builds with just basic JavaScript, I'm all ears. I'll eventually, I promise, get to more front-end frameworks, so we're not just reaching into the DOM constantly rather than being more reactive with what we're doing. So some of that stuff's going to coincide with some of the Rails stuff I'm doing too, so look forward to that. But for now, I thank you for watching, and again, if you like this, please like or subscribe. I'd appreciate it, and tell your friends. All right, peace.